Hello
Hello there.
there.
Welcome back to Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. Today, we are recording episode 41, and we are going to be taking a look at the Clone Wars episodes Legacy of Terror and Brain Invaders to continue our chronological rewatch of the series. I'm Jacob.
I am the Geonosian Queen. Sorry, I'm Eli. I need to think of somebody today. And yeah, let's get into it. Before we get into this episode, we do want to note something. I'm extremely squeamish, so this is going to be one of the rare exceptions where Jacob watches something that I don't, because I can't watch Brain Invaders without like puking. So so I watched Legacy of Terror. Jacob watched Legacy of Terror and Brain Invaders. This is gonna be the only time because I swear it's just this episode. Even this episode pushed it a little bit for me. So
These
let's
episodes were crazy. They were wild, yeah.
yeah. So before we get into our deep analysis, let's do our summaries. I'll take Legacy of Terror. You do Brain Invaders.
So it's good.
Okay. Legacy of Terror. In their quest to capture Poggle the Lesser, Luminara Unduli and later Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi come upon a Geonosian temple. And this temple leads down to some catacombs which lead to the lair of a Geonosian queen.
Karina the Great.
Karina the Great answers one of the biggest questions I always had about Star Wars. Great stuff. Karina the Great's goal is to control an empire of Geonosian mind slaves far beyond the planet of Geonosis through the use of brain worms. Worms that crawl inside your nose and infest you to become a willing servant of the Geonosian hive mind, basically. Yeah, you can see why I didn't watch the next episode. And so Anakin and Obi-Wan rescue Luminara narrowly from being infested by one of these parasites, and they flee Geonosis successfully, unaware of the danger that's about to unleash on them. That's Legacy of Terror.
Brain Invaders. So having collapsed the Geonosian temple, and so everyone's escaped from the Progate temple, the clones, the Jedi, they're all chilling out, and then Barriss and Ahsoka are sent on a mission to deliver medical supplies to Kit Fisto on a medical station. Unfortunately, a clone boards the medical frigate, who has actually been infected by one of these brainworms, and he brings an entire backpack's worth of brainworms with him, scatters them around the ship, and pretty soon most of the clones, maybe close to all of them at one point, end up infected. And as you can imagine, chaos ensues. Ahsoka and Barriss have to figure out how to retake control of the ship. Eventually, even Barriss is trapped by the infected clones and gets infected herself. More battles ensue, but Anakin, luckily, always the unconventional one, decides to tap into the dark side and torture Poggle the Lesser to find out how to defeat the worms, and then using the information that the worms are very vulnerable to the cold, Ahsoka is able to do something to the ship. I think she releases maybe the coolant or these frozen gases inside the ship, and ends up freeing the clones from the hold of the ship. It's very dramatic, very very scary if you don't like worms and such, as Eli does not. But it's a pretty interesting episode. So yeah, we will get to all that. But first, Legacy of Terror.
Legacy of Terror's fortune cookie is sometimes accepting help is harder than offering it.
I think it was a pretty interesting statement.
Yeah, me too.
I definitely think it rings true in many people's personal lives, mine included. I think it's a pretty relatable statement. But in terms of the story, I think they could have phrased it better. I don't think it exactly hits the right mark, because it's not exact what we see ending up happening doesn't really hinge on asking for help, but rather people going off on their own and trying to accomplish accomplish a
Yeah.
task solo dolo. Like Luminara in this episode, she takes a ton of unnecessary risk against the other Jedi's suggestions. She goes in the sandstorm on her own. She goes into the temple because she really wants to follow Poggle. Even Kiadi Mundi says it's not in her character to do that, and that makes me think, maybe a little theory crafting here, maybe the fact that she almost lost Barris in the previous episode, I believe it is, in Weapons Factory. That's the one. Maybe that shook her. Maybe she's trying to prove to herself that she's capable of doing things on her own, given that she has such a tight bond and working relationship with Barris. But
it
it's
could
hard to
also
say.
just be the stress of the war. The Jedi have been fighting a war for over a year now, so
Yeah,
it could
and
also just be that war changes people.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, Palpatine is definitely in his own memoirs in the Book of Sith. I don't know if that's canon. He is
It's not canon.
definitely it's not canon.
This
Dang
is
it,
like the
dang
third
it.
time in a row you've mentioned it and
I
asked
know,
if
I
it's
know.
canon. It's not
Sometimes I
canon.
forget. Okay, it's not canon. Fine. Oh, fine.
It
I'll
doesn't mean
accept
it's
it.
not good. It's just not canon. I love it. It's great. I love it.
But in any case, he's certainly, and I imagine that this is something that could carry over quite easily into the new Disney canon. He is quite upfront in his retelling of things, in his use of the war as a tool to make the Jedi more arrogant and yet also less sure of themselves and less sure of their instincts. And I think that definitely shows here how, normally, it's Luminar. She's by the book. She's a team player. She's not a risk taker. But all of a sudden in this episode, she just kind of, even in the way she talks, you can tell there just seems to be more urgency. There seems to be more of an edge to everything. She really kind of,
I mean, her name
almost goes off the handle at one point.
Her name is literally Luminara Unduli. She undulates light, luminance.
Yeah.
That's her literal name. And yet she's taking all these unnecessary risks and all that kind of stuff. She's being reckless. If that's not showing how war changes people, I don't know what does. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's get to the actual meat of the episode and our analysis and stuff. Let's see. Here's something I noticed about Luminara. She's usually a serious and stoic Jedi Master, but then she tells Obi-Wan, just make sure to leave a bit of strategic planning for me when I come back, which is an unexpected flash of humor in Luminara's point of view, which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think,
I
think we see the same thing in the fortune cookie also with Anakin. Anakin tries to go it alone, and even after, I guess it's kind of getting ahead a little bit, but we can circle back. He suggests they split up right after they lose two clones to the Geonosian zombies, and Obi-Wan ends up having to tell him that it's obviously a bad idea. This is maybe a little bit more in line with what we see in other parts of Anakin's journey, but it definitely is something that I think gets played up in this episode.
Let's before we do anything else, I want to get to some low-hanging fruit in this episode. Obi-Wan describes the Geonosian hive minds as connecting with its hosts even after they have died. Did this remind you of something by any chance? I want to see if you got there too.
No, I don't. If there was a reference, I don't think I.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the specific wording and stuff, but that that thing that he says about connecting the hosts even after they've died. Let me ask you a question, Jacob. Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
That reminded you of Darth Plagueis. Oh, that's
it reminded me of Palpatine's speech to Anakin in Revenge of the Sith for some reason.
Oh yeah, I didn't make that connection, but yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
There's something else. Oh yeah, Anakin says that the myth of the hive mind, quote, can't be true. That's impossible. That is a reference. Yeah, I know that's a reference.
It's not true.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Right? Yeah, that's totally. Also, later in this episode, of course, Anakin has a bad feeling about this, as he should, because they're interacting with a hive mind.
Yeah.
So those are my low-hanging fruits for this episode.
I absolutely love this episode.
Well,
Yeah.
let's get to it after we get to our analysis, because I don't think I agree, actually. But
Really? Okay.
anyway. But yeah, so they're dragging boxes to the temple. We never really actually know what's inside those boxes.
We don't. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Poggle's in a hurry.
Yeah.
But it does seem kind of imprudent when we have the. It says Lord Poggle says leave it. You gotta keep moving. Wouldn't leaving the box there? I mean, it ends up providing a clue that they're headed of where they're headed, and kind of confirms.
And wouldn't Luminara want to open the box?
Temple.
She found the box. Wouldn't she want to open it?
Like that would have been so cool. I feel like one thing this episode really did well was kind of add these layers of suspense and mystery, and then slowly peel them away. And I feel like there may have been a missed opportunity there with the box. Like maybe that box somehow could have been a bit of a clue as to the existence of Karina the Great, or something, depending on
what the Hive Mind or anything, or
just depending on what the contents of the box were.
My favorite, I don't know how
they do that, but that would have been awesome.
My favorite is Luminara describes it as, quote, a munitions container of some kind. So, a box.
Yeah.
It just seems like an overcomplicated and fancy way to describe what is essentially a crate.
They don't. I know, and then they don't even open it to confirm. They're like, "It's a munitions crate." You think?
I mean, people talk about. They criticize JJ for leaving mystery boxes in the plot device of mystery boxes in his work. I mean, the writers are leaving literal mystery boxes in the stories and then never opening them. Which I think is kind of hilarious when you think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
By the way, this sandstorm that Luminar gets caught in, we talked last time with Alden Diaz about how great the animation is. The sandstorm is beautiful.
Yeah, I really like a lot of the wide environmental shots in these episodes.
They're getting so much better at animating
the textures, the coloration. Yeah, it definitely is a step up. So I guess we can move on then to the meat and potatoes, in my opinion, of this episode, which is, of course, the Progate Temple.
Yeah. So
that sounds kind of like a sports and like a it sounds like a
sponsored by
stadium.
Progate.
No, yeah, it sounds like a sports stadium there. Welcome back to the Super Bowl held at the Progate Temple or something. I don't know.
That's a title name if I've heard it.
I think because it maybe because Progate kind of sounds like Colgate.
Yeah, I think that's probably where you got it from. Yeah. You haven't watched as much as I have, but this whole temple sequence felt so Indiana Jones to me.
Yeah, I see. I can see that. Yeah, I really.
Last episode, we were talking with Alden Diaz about Indiana Jones, and I said a bold move in his opinion that my favorite Indiana Jones movie is Temple of Doom, which is not a very popular opinion held in the Indiana Jones fan base, which is fine. I don't really care. I will like Temple of Doom on my own. This felt very Temple of Doom to me. This episode felt very Temple of Doom to me. I think they even do hypnotize people in Temple of Doom, not using worms though, so it's not as scary. Though, if you thought this episode was dark with the whole temple mind control thing, they rip a dude's heart out of his chest in Temple of Doom.
Jeez.
Don't ask how they do that.
No, I was not planning on it.
The answer, by the way, is there's no good answer. They just do.
Wow. Okay. Yeah,
it's really silly, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this temple scene is just one of my favorite moments. The whole episode, pretty much, or the whole middle act of this episode, honestly, is just so great. You know, the ominous music, the super suspenseful atmosphere. It's just so perfect to me. Like, you know, Luminar and the clones, like, you kind of get the sense that they know they're in deep at this point. They know that they're going to. Like, they know they're gonna see things and experience things.
They know there's something down there.
Yeah, they know that they're going to see things they won't be able to unsee, but they have to go ahead anyway. I think it does a really good job of bringing in this like the viewer with the kind of horrified, the morbid fascination. Like you're horrified, but you don't want to look away because like they kind of build up to it and drop hints of like there's something bad down here. Don't go down there. Kind of don't go in the basement. And I don't know. I just love like the first kind of realization of like there's something greater at play here than we've realized, and there are more layers to peel back. That's the thing I love about this episode the most. There's so many layers that we just keep peeling back more and more.
Can I tell you about my revelation about Karina the Great, by the way?
What is your
I've been waiting to talk about this. So, Karina the Great has answered one of my long-lasting Star Wars questions that I forgot I had until I watched this. So I've been trivia watching the Clone Wars recently. And I got to this episode a couple weeks ago. And it finally clicked for me. Jacob, let me ask you something, okay? It always mystified me. Why is Poggle the lesser? You know what I mean? Why, if Poggle is the leader of Geonosis, why is he the lesser? Who is the greater? Well, it turns out, of course, there is no greater. There is only a great, aka Karina the Great. The lesser than Karina, who is the Great. That may sound obvious, but I didn't have this revelation until like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it kind of it is definitely cool because at least when I was watching the first 2 episodes of the Geonosis arc, and when I watched Attack of the Clones, I was like, oh, Poggle the Lesser, that's just a title. I'm not worried about it. Like, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
But then when we start realizing like, oh, there's a rumored queen, you're like, wait,
lesser than the queen.
Who's the greater? So I don't know. I think it's a really cool.
I just like. I didn't put that together until this episode, even though I've seen this episode before. But like, and I knew who Karina the Great was. I didn't put that together, but yeah, I love that. I love that revelation I had. Probably not as mind blowing to you because you didn't like wonder that or something, or like care about that like I did, which is fine. I get deep into things sometimes. Yeah. So Anakin and Obi-Wan devise a plan to rescue Luminara and find out more about this Geonosian hive mind. This is one of the most interesting things that happens in this episode, in my opinion, which is that Anakin and Obi-Wan and Cody talk their plan out. Do you realize how rare that is in Star Wars? We usually hear, what's your plan? And then they cut away, and then we see the plan. We don't hear the plan.
Or we just get dropped right into the action. They'll just be like, follow the plan, or they just communicate it.
Or they do a montage. Or they do a montage of them explaining the plan over them doing the plan. But very rarely do they actually say their plan and then do the plan directly afterwards. That's pretty rare, which I actually really appreciate. I think that's really, I think that's really interesting. It's an interesting touch to the episode. Yeah. Here's a line I loved. So let's get to Karina. Now, I have a question off the bat about Karina that's interesting to me. It would be a logistical problem if I wasn't so interested in it. How could Karina speak Basic?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Maybe the fact that, well, she didn't put a brainworm in Luminara Unduli. Maybe she picked it up because her brainworms, maybe I assume that just her hive mind has grown to that level where maybe there were people on the surface during the Battle of Geonosis or something, or maybe she just knew it from before. We don't know how old she is. We don't know what her lifespan is. So
she seems like a very, very smart, I want to say person, but she's not a person. She's a Geonosian. She seems very, very smart. She seems very like she knows what she's doing. As opposed to a lot of the other Geonosians who often seem very stupid. She seems like she has a way in has a way with the Republic and has a way with strategy and cunningness. Yeah, I'm very interested in her. She calls Geonosis, one of my favorite touches of this episode, she calls it Geonosia, which is
Yeah,
an
that was pretty
interesting
great.
native name, and I love that. I love the idea that they call it Geonosia, which makes it way more like, I don't know, it makes way more like that sort of like, again, like the aspect of like the homeland, this is their turf. It's very interesting.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting the way, I don't know, it almost sounds as though then it becomes less of a planet and more of a place, if that makes sense. It's not even a place, but
Yeah,
less of a planet, almost maybe an idea. I don't know how to describe what I'm
yeah.
thinking, but
It's a very interesting
it just gives it a
way to
different, it
look
gives
at
it a
it.
different touch, which I like. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and then she gives this creepy speech, which I will say this: had I not known how deadly the brainworms were, this speech would not have worked. You know what I mean? Without the threat of what we know she's about to unleash, this doesn't work. But with the threat, it's terrifying. I know my empire is forever. I know destroy you. I devour you. I
Yeah.
control you.
Yeah, that was a pretty chilling moment, I
It's
have to say.
crazy. I wrote in my notes, even though my squeamishness prevents me from enjoying the brainworm idea fully, there are still things that I admire about it, which there are. There are things that I really enjoy about the idea of, basically the idea of, hey, our species can't get far enough or do enough, so we're just gonna put our influence in every other species out there,
Yeah, it's
which I
pretty
think is
smart.
funny. It's an interesting idea. Um, yeah. Uh, so that's all the notes I have about Legacy of Terror. Do you have anything else?
Let's see. Not really. Yeah, I just love the way the reveals keep coming. You know, with Obi-Wan
Yeah.
then realizing that they're planning to try and infect Luminara when he realizes, oh wait, they haven't killed her yet. It's so good the way they just keep revealing more and more slowly. I do have some trivia that I found for this episode,
Good
which I think
stuff.
is interesting. So, this episode was released in the year 2009, which to me is absolutely crazy to think about. That seems like so long ago in terms of what's happened for Star Wars since then.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding.
but that means that it was released in the same year as the book Death Troopers, which is infamously also about
Another zombie
zombies.
book.
So
Yeah.
I guess for Star Wars, 2009 was the zombie year, the year when they went all in on zombies.
You know what? Hey, look. It was 2009. It was also 2018 or 19. I forget which one it is. Hey guys, I think Dak is a zombie.
Oh my
Wait, your
gosh.
ship just got shot down. Yeah, but zombie.
Wait,
If nobody knows that reference, you got to check out Hostels of the Hill. Bad lip rating right
Hostels on the Hill,
now.
Bad Living? Yeah, yeah.
So great.
Pretty good. Good stuff. In so James Luceno wrote the book Catalyst, which that is canon, correct?
It is. It's one of the first canon books. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Catalyst, James Luceno. In that, Poggle actually uses or oh my gosh, I misspoke. No, Palpatine uses Poggle's capture to explain away the fact that he had the plans and was able to begin the construction of the Death Star, even though he probably knew about it at least at the time of Attack of the Clones, given
Oh,
that
he definitely
we
knew
see
about it.
Dooku in Attack of the Clones. We see Dooku looking at a hologram of the Death
They're
Star
like,
plans. So I guess he just
these
used
are your
Poggle
this
as an
is your
excuse.
super this is my super weapon. No, this is my super weapon. You took it from me.
Yeah.
No, but you see, this is my super weapon now.
Yeah, Krennic is always complaining that the credit got stolen from, but you know, he needs to respect the Geonosians. It's on some level, it's not just his creation. Like, it's been going on for years before he got involved. Like, the
Yep.
Geonosians designed it. The Geonosians came up with it pretty much.
Yeah. But it also could be Palpatine's design.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is a lot to. There
Or
are
like
still a
just at
lot of
least Palpatine's idea. Maybe it was
unknowns.
their design, Palpatine's idea, because I think
Yeah, absolutely. There
Palpatine.
are a lot of things we still don't know about it. To be fair, like, like because Galen, Galen Urso, you know, uh, was basically portrayed as the one guy who knew how to make the super laser work in
Yeah.
in Rogue One. So then that implies that the Geonosians maybe had plans for the super laser, but maybe weren't able to see it all the way through and make it work the way it needed to work or something.
Okay, let's get
But
to
I
our
digress.
overall thoughts about this episode. Jacob, you already mentioned loving this episode, which is interesting.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
absolutely love this episode. I thought that the part where we actually you start to see Karina the Great talking and interacting more with other people, I thought that part was a little bit underwhelming. I didn't particularly like their choice of a voice for her. I think it was pretty I thought it was a little underwhelming. I didn't
You know
particularly
who that
like the
voice is?
screechy. What is it?
So it's an actor who's played many other roles in the Clone Wars.
Really?
Yep. You can guess who it is. He's done like everything.
Oh man, I'm not sure I know, to be honest.
D. Bradley Baker.
No way. Yeah. Well, I think this was, respect to him, but in my opinion, this was
I
not,
loved
I
it
wouldn't even say it was a
personally.
bad performance because it wasn't. I just
A
don't think
well
it was
designed
right.
voice thing.
Yeah, it wasn't even bad. I just didn't like it for Karina the Great. The high pitched screechy thing and the way that she spoke basic, but also kind of like the broken English aspect. I don't know. It just didn't really seem like the right fit for her character, and that honestly made the middle of the episode, or maybe I guess the back third, the third act, I guess, kind of drag a bit. That being said,
You still loved it.
I still loved it. Super suspenseful, super dark. It almost reminded me of the of Palpatine's reveal in The Rise of Skywalker. It was super dark, super suspenseful, and they kind of
Save
hooked me
that because
in
I have something.
with an element of morbid fascination. That's all
Save
I'm gonna
that
say.
because I have something to say about that later.
You can
Um,
say the rest.
but yeah, I of course because this is in a galaxy and it wouldn't be complete without us doing this. I'm gonna disagree here. I Legacy of Terror wasn't for me. It just didn't do it for me. It was fine. It was fine. I liked it. Okay, it was good. There was some stuff like I'm not in love with this whole brainworm thing and like legacy. I mean, it was terror inducing, and I did like that part of it. That it just didn't vibe with me, which is completely fine. Not every piece of Star Wars is for everyone. We're getting to an episode the next time. So next week is not a Clone Wars episode, but the following week is. And the middle of the 3 episodes of the following week is my favorite episode of the Clone Wars, period. So that's what I love about the Clone Wars is if you don't like something particularly a lot, there's usually something around the corner that's going to be a lot more for you. And that's me with season 2 right now. I don't like Legacy of Terror. I can't watch Brain Invaders, but Grievous Intrigue slaps, and The Deserter is my favorite episode of the Clone Wars. So I'm excited to get to that.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get on to Brain Invaders. So, what is our fortune cookie for the episode? I actually don't know.
All right. Our fortune cookie for this episode is attachment is not compassion. I think
Ah,
this is a
yes.
pretty good fortune cookie. It definitely rings true for Star Wars, and it is
Yeah.
a very
This seems
important
very potent in
theme.
Anakin's case.
Yeah, and how can the Jedi? I think even at one point, Ahsoka says that how we like on the in the episodes with the Lorman in season one with I think it's in a talk with Ayla Secura. She says something with almost the exact same wording, but flipped around, where it's like we are taught to banish our attachments, but how are we meant to be compassionate without forming attachments? So
A
it's an
couple
interesting debate. I don't
It
really think
reminds
it's
me of
reflected too much in this episode, but there are some moments where it does come through.
it reminds me a lot of Ahsoka's dialogue to Din in chapter 13 of The Mandalorian. Grogu has already formed an attachment to you, and it's she does actually do a lot of that. Attachment is not compassion, because we see she's compassionate for all the villagers in the city of Kaladin on Corvus, but she is not really attached to any of them. Which I guess you could say she's no Jedi and all of that, but like then again, Dave did say the whole she's more Jedi than the Jedi thing, so
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what I think of. But go ahead, summarize, not summarize. Get into your analysis, because I'm gonna
So
just bounce things off me.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a little short. I don't have a lot to say about this episode, but we'll find something to talk about. So Barriss at one point, in regards to attachment is not compassion, begs Ahsoka to kill her in order to stop the spread of the worms, but Ahsoka refuses to slay her friend. And then they kind of talk about this later, and it's an interesting question. If like Ahsoka's too attached to her, but is this the same thing as compassion? Because being more compassionate might mean actually letting Barriss potentially die, in order to prevent the spread. Because if Ahsoka had not succeeded in slicing the worm out of Barriss's mouth, the ship would have been lost. And then, interestingly enough, of course, Anakin, always the dark sider, even when he's on the light side, he ends up lecturing Ahsoka about this very thing. But then he falls
my
victim.
God.
What?
He doesn't.
Yeah. He falls victim to the very same phenomenon when his attachment to Ahsoka drives him to the dark side, and he uses the Force to force choke Poggle the Lesser as he is interrogating him to try and find a way to stop the brainworms. And I think that's that's almost, in terms of the larger message, in terms of looking at the episode philosophically, I think that might be the most interesting part of the episode, because it really is emblematic, I think, of Anakin's struggle. He loses so many people he is close to over the course of his life up to this point, and he ends up being comfortable and justifying doing terrible things and going closer and closer to the dark side in order to try and save the people that he cares about. We talked about this with Alden Diaz last week.
I was just about to say episode 41, the psychological complexity of Anakin Skywalker, part 2.
Part 2, yeah. And I think it's interesting just seeing the way this all just culminates then in what happens with Padme. But I think that's something that the Clone Wars does a really good job of, is showing this isn't a one-off. Like, the thing with Padme wasn't a one-off. Like, this has been a pattern of behavior for years at this point, by the time Revenge of the Sith rolls around, of Anakin, like, basically doing whatever it takes, no matter the cost, to save the people dearest to him. Which, that's interesting. And I think the Order 66 foreshadowing in this episode is pretty crazy too.
With the clones being possessed by the brainworms and Ahsoka being forced to, that actually did occur to me.
Or it's not Ahsoka, it's Barriss ends up killing a clone, in a pretty brutal manner. But then,
Ahsoka still has to fight them.
Yeah, Ahsoka has to fight them. It's super creepy to me and fascinating when the clones say at one point, after they apprehend Barriss, they trap her, and then they say, if there's one thing we clones know how to do, it's how to stop a Jedi. And that is just wow, because that seems way out of left field. These clones, they fight droids, and yes, they fight alongside Jedi, but crazy, right? And then so it brings up the question: did the worms somehow subconsciously tap into part of the Order 66 programming? Did they?
That's what I was thinking. Did the worms activate part of the inhibitor chip?
I doubt that. I seriously doubt that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the worms
I would
in
like
in
die if
their
that
the
was
way that they
revealed.
work. The way that the worms work, I would not be surprised, given that we don't know really what they actually do to a person, if they can kind of stir up the subconscious and kind of try and rewire their brain as they're fighting your brain for control, so that things that are in your brain but that are maybe locked off or subconscious are suddenly brought to the surface, at least for the worm's consciousness to be able to say that. Like maybe the
Yeah.
clone might, like the clone doesn't know. Maybe like I don't know how to describe this. Let me try and explain what I'm thinking through. The clone doesn't know that besides Order 66, maybe they've just been trained in a way that can catch Jedi. But the worm ends up coming into their brain and mixing and creating a change as it's, I don't know, slithering around it there, doing whatever it's doing, controlling you. And the brain, and then that ends up making your brain, while it's under the influence of the worm, conscious of the fact that you've been trained in things that will help you catch a Jedi, even if it wasn't labeled as such to you, even if no one ever told you you're getting this training, it will help you defeat Jedi. But maybe the brain, maybe the what I'm trying to say is maybe the worm is the worm is the entity that's making the connections there and connecting the dots, adding 2 plus 2, getting 4. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really scary foreshadowing, but I really love it. It's a great moment.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Anything
much
else
all I
you
have.
got? Okay. What do you think? What do you think of the episode?
I thought it was really good. Again, it did a good job of being suspenseful. I think it kind of went a little overboard, I might say, towards the latter part. But there's still some really great eerie moments. Like at the beginning, we have the clone sigh, and he gets taken over by a worm right at the beginning of the episode, and then he's asleep as it happens, and then another clone wakes him up, and he just kind of springs upright in a super uncanny way, as though the worm is still trying to figure out how to control a human body and not a Geonosian body. And then the other clone says to him, "Welcome back to the land of the living."
But
and that's just like wah wah wah, and then he says, "Thank you, brother," in a really deep voice. It's hilarious. But yeah, I really I love this episode. Actually, I wouldn't say I loved it, but I liked it. I thought it had some good things.
Yeah, I can't say anything good about this episode because I still haven't watched it fully. So let's get on. This is a new segment of Star Wars in a Galaxy that we're gonna try. We want to connect our in-depth analysis to a little bit more larger theme. I actually was thinking, oh, what would be great name for this? A larger view of the. God damn it!
Oh no, it's been taken already.
God damn it, Devore! God damn it! We might not have a name for it. I love the idea of taking it from the quote of Obi-Wan, first steps into a larger world, but we don't have to have a name about this.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a name for it. So we both have discussion questions. So Jacob, let's go ahead with yours.
Yeah. So I'm a little unsure of what exactly this is going to entail, but I will do my best. So one thing that, as I said before, one thing that really stuck out to me was how well both the episodes, but really mostly the first episode, Legacy of Terror, how well it used morbid fascination and kind of suspense to draw the viewer in and get them invested in the mystery of the Progate temple. Yeah. And I was just wondering if you had any connections to other parts of Star Wars that use kind of this element of mystery and thrill.
Suspense.
Because it really reminded me of again the rise, like Palpatine's reveal in the Rise of Skywalker, the way all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Like, wait, Palpatine's back? Is he a clone? Yeah. Is he not? He's decayed.
Do you have
and
any examples?
hooked up to tubes. That was my example. That was the example I thought of.
Interesting.
But that was pretty much it for me.
Well, the suspense thing, I would say there is a little bit of a suspense. Like, it's filled with shock also in The Rise of Skywalker of Chewbacca's fake out death. It's like, did they really just kill Chewbacca? Is this really what we're doing now? And then it's of course revealed that they didn't. But that's fine. That's totally cool. Yeah, that's the first example I thought of. Mine is a very similar idea. So I said in this episode, Legacy of Terror, of course, we get a very clear horror vibe. And I was just wondering about some of your favorite horror stuff in Star Wars. Here are 3 of my examples. Number 1 is, of course, the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker on Exegol, of course. That is very shot in a very, and like Palpatine's revitalized fingers and the very Frankenstein-esque way he's put together, and like, that's totally horror. Another one, with zombies, no less. Massacre. The episode with the Night Sister zombies. The first episode, in the Clone Wars. Of course, we get them with the spirits and secrets and shadows of, Visions and Voices is the episode in Rebels. And we get them in Fallen Order, but their first appearance was in an episode of the Clone Wars called Massacre. I would petition that. I would also petition a very suspense and horror-filled episode, the season premiere of Resistance Season 2. I don't know if you remember it. It's an episode called Into the Unknown, not the Frozen song.
Not the Frozen
song. The Resistance episode where a BB-9 droid from the First Order gets onto the Colossus and starts to wreak havoc on it. It's really suspenseful and horror-laden, so I would lay those 3 down. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, in terms of the horror-like aspects, I don't really have a lot of experience with horror as a genre of movie, so I can't say anything definitively. But one thing that I really like that kind of uses that kind of just delves into fear, like as a topic, is, I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's in season 1 of Star Wars Rebels when Ezra is in the Jedi Temple and he's having his visions of being chased by the Inquisitor, and he witnesses in this vision Kanan being killed by the Inquisitor. I think that's really interesting, how we kind of go into, and we see like what does fear do to like a Jedi, and how do they overcome this, and Ezra having to overcome it and end up seeing what's real and what's not.
Absolutely.
Which is difficult because he's young and inexperienced, but he has to, but he ends, the moment when he, I guess, wins against his inner struggle is when he says, "You're not real. I'm not afraid."
Yeah, good stuff. And of course,
that
Star Wars
just
Rebels
I feel like is that feels so universal.
Okay, I definitely agree.
It's a classic Star Wars moment. It is a classic Star Wars moment.
I was about to say, I like this little segment. I think I want to keep this.
Okay, yeah. I'm fine with
okay, let's get to everyone's favorite part of the Star Wars in a Galaxy. So excited! I haven't done this in 2 weeks. It's great.
2 weeks? Oh my gosh!
What you've brought me today is worth 1/4 portion.
That's right. It's 1/4 portion. Everyone's favorite part of the show.
Actually, it's 2/4 portions because we didn't do it last week.
It's a half portion.
We're catching up. 1/2 portion. Anyway, so we're catching up. We're doing 6 degrees of Star Wars and Star Wars opinions. In my opinion, my 2 favorite 1/4 portions to do, actually. So
should we start with?
Can I start since you start on? Yeah. I'll start with my first 6 degrees.
All right.
This is one I'm so excited to do.
I've not done 6 degrees in
Jacob,
so long. I'm a little nervous.
Connect Jedi Master Sifo Dyas. Yep, I'm bringing in Sifo Dyas into the throng. And Admiral Cassius Constantine.
Sifo Dyas and Admiral Cassius Constantine. Does Sifo Dyas even show up in a movie or TV show?
Hey, remember not alive, but remember the episode of the Clone Wars, the Lost one?
Is that how you want me to go? Because I could try that.
Well, we do know that he was a good friend of Count Dooku.
Oh, okay.
That opens up like 60,000 different possibilities.
Okay, I could just do that then. Okay.
We
so,
also know that, by the way, of course, he was a Jedi when Yoda was Grandmaster.
Yeah.
So it seems hard for me to believe that he had never met Yoda.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So he is connected to Count Dooku, obviously, and he was a good friend. Count Dooku is, I have to get it, Constantine. Wow. Okay, and then Count Dooku dueled Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi met Ezra Bridger, and Ezra Bridger has talked over transmission with Admiral Constantine.
Very good. Let's go to my first one.
Thank you. I'm proud of that one. Is that the route you envisioned?
Oh, I didn't actually think of anything. So.
Oh, okay.
I winged this thing. I winged this thing.
You wing it.
We wing it.
Like the wings of the Caradox.
Or the wings of the Master, which I'm so sorry I had you remove, but okay.
Are the people listening at home gonna know what we're talking about right now?
We're announcing it tomorrow. Yes.
Oh, redacted. Oh wait, no. Okay. Very, very, very fun stuff.
I can mention that
soon,
now.
But I digress.
We'll announce at the end of the episode.
How about, Eli? I would be most pleased if you could connect for me Admiral Yularen and General Hux.
General! I had to do that. Hux. Did Hux meet Luke? God damn it, Hux never met Luke! That would have been so perfect, too!
But Hux met the other members of the Resistance, though, so you'll be able to go through it that way.
Tell your precious princess.
Oh my god.
Hux Leia, because remember, Leia knows everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Leia... No. Oh, wait! Hux, Leia, R2-D2, Admiral Yularen.
Wow, nice. I did not expect you to go through R2-D2.
Or we could do Hux Poe. We don't know that Hux met Leia. Hux Poe, R2-D2.
Yeah, that works.
Yularen.
Oh, because he talks to him on the phone in the Your Mom scene.
And he's brought before Hux in The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. I can't believe I need to watch
I'm the spy.
I've only watched it once.
Great movie. In my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah. So. Okay.
Orn Freyta.
Yeah.
And Nine Numb.
Orn Freyta and Nine Numb. Whew. Okay.
I just realized one of the perfect routes to connect them.
Okay. So Orn Freyta.
This will be I'm gonna say this. I'm not giving you a hint, but this is gonna be a difficult one to achieve.
So
Take that with what you will.
I will. I know. Orn Freyta met Mace Windu.
Okay, you can do that too.
That's one. Mace Windu, of course. Wait, has he? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Has Mace Windu met Mon Mothma on screen?
We can't say he has.
Dang it. Oh man. Okay. Orn Freyta has met Kenobi.
Try to achieve it the other way. Anyway, go ahead, Obi-Wan.
Can you say the second character again? I'm getting all tripped up here.
Nine Numb.
Nine Numb and Orn Freyta. Okay, maybe I'll try to go the other way. So Nine Numb, I think I got to go to Lando Calrissian from Nine Numb. Oh, I got it. Nine Numb, Lando Calrissian, wait. Oh, I got the same problem again. Wait, no. Nine Numb, Lando Calrissian, Leia. No. Oh gosh. Oh no. I'm having really hard time getting it under six. Okay, I got it. I'm not going to sheave it.
Why are you not going to sheave it? It's the easiest way.
Eli, listen to me. I'm a chronic underachiever. Okay. No. I got it. Nine Numb, Lando Calrissian, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Orn Freyta.
By the way, let me just add, Orn Freyta Palpatine. And then if we could do it by Force Lightning, which I don't think we can, we could connect it to 9 Num there. But if we can't, Rey 9 Num.
Okay, yeah.
Or actually just Luke 9 Num, actually. Could work as well. But anyway, I figured out the Sheev strategy. Okay, let's do Star Wars opinions. Asking each other Star Wars opinionated questions. I guess I'll go first again.
Okay.
So, throughout our look at the Clone Wars and various other Star Wars lore, I've picked up on a lot of different ideas that are hinted at but never explored. And I want to know something that has been hinted at in the Star Wars anything that you want to explore further.
I want to explore. Ooh, that's a good question. That is a really good question. I feel like there's so many things I could say, but
by the way, actually, Jacob, I'm going to put 2 restrictions on both of us, okay?
Okay.
Your restriction is you cannot do anything related to the Jedi losing their way.
Okay.
My restriction is I cannot do anything related to the Sith Eternal no matter how much I want to.
Yeah. I think that if we're talking about canon, one thing that I'd really want to see explored is the possibility of splinter groups and warlords after the after the Battle of Endor.
So like Gideon, but even less legitimate?
Like Gideon, but different. More legitimate, less legitimate, more powerful, less powerful. Whatever it may be, I really think that it's both more interesting and it makes more sense to have a situation more like what you had in the expanded universe, where you have like Thrawn,
Legends, yeah,
Zinj,
yeah.
and Helion and different warlords and groups kind of vying for power, because that seems more like what the Imperial people would do. They're so selfish, and we do have the Long Live the Empire guy who kills himself, but I think on the whole, it seems more likely that we would end up with a situation where these selfish rank climbers, now that they're given free reign and they don't have to fear Palpatine invaders coming down on them, are going to finally live out their fantasies and try and seize power for themselves, except they're all going to do it at the same time. So it's going to kind of break apart and we're going to have a similar situation. Granted, that is probably not the vision that the people in charge of the plot have right now, so we may not see that.
Though then again,
that is something I would
flash
ask for.
Back to one of my favorite scenes in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and for all you wondering, yes, I'm counting this as one of my favorite scenes of The Mandalorian. It's the flashback that explains Cobb's backstory. We see those Red Key Raiders take over Freetown, or Mos Pelgo, as it's called in the episode.
Yeah.
Like, that's a hint of that, you know what I mean? That's a little bit of a hint of something like that. But that scene endlessly fascinates me just in general, because it's such a great scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Okay, Jacob, first one. Go.
Didn't I just... Oh, wait, no, you just gave me one. I'm sorry, okay.
Come on.
So I actually had 2, but I realized this can be expanded, so I'm going to give you 2 for each of these. What is your favorite season of Rebels and your favorite season of the Clone Wars?
Rebels is 4. It's 4.
Okay.
It's so good. It's such a great conclusion to that show. 3 is great, but 4 is just pinnacle. Yeah. Clone Wars is a little bit harder because all my favorite arcs are scattered. I think Season 3 may be my favorite season of the Clone Wars.
Oh, Season 3, interesting. Elaborate.
Yeah. There are a lot of great arcs in that season. I remember I thought it was Season 4 for a while because it started with the Mon Calamari arc, which is one of my favorite all-time arcs of the Clone Wars. No, yeah, Season 3 is incredible. It starts off with the Clone Cadets and the supply lines, which we did. Arc Troopers is an awesome episode. So is Sphere of Influence. Then we get into the Zero the Hutt stuff, which is kind of interesting. Then the politics stuff. The only downside of Season 3 to me is we get the Maul stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of the Maul stuff in the Clone Wars. But then we get the Citadel and Mortis back to back. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's
I like Season 5 a lot.
Citadel Season 3, Lola Sayu?
Yeah. Citadel and Mortis back to back is crazy. I love season 5. I love season 7, but it's gonna have to go to season 3.
I can respect that. That's not what I expected, but I definitely.
Yeah, go ahead with your own.
Okay, so for Rebels, obviously it's got to be between. As much as I have grown to love season 1 and 2, I have to pick either season 3 or season 4. This is really hard for me, but I think I'm gonna have to say season 3. I just really like what they did, especially in the latter half of the season with the way Thrawn. It's very suspenseful, and he's kind of slowly closing in on the Rebels, and maybe it is not quite as serialized or as personal as season 4 is, but I think as an overall season, I think it is slightly superior. Although, to be fair, I really can't pick, so I could just as easily have made the argument for season 4.
Oh, also season 4 has A World Between Worlds, which is one of the best episodes of Star Wars Rebels, period. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, yeah, I'm changing my mind. It's season 4, actually. It's got to be season 4.
Sorry, yeah.
It's fine. Yeah, but you're right. I think it's got to be season 4, actually. I forgot about the whole Sabine arc. I think that really makes it
prime. Yeah.
That is
Clone Wars
prime Star Wars. Clone Wars. Also, season 4. We have Waterworld.
The opening Mon Cala arc is so underrated. It's not even funny.
It's such an interesting arc. The entire underwater. You have that. You have.
I know why you love it.
You have the Krell.
Umbara, yeah, that's what does
episodes,
it for you.
And you have the Kadavo arc, which is
the Zygeria arc. Yeah,
one of the most philosophically, intellectually challenging and compelling arcs and stories in Star Wars. Period. Full stop.
You also have right after
you have the Crisis on Naboo. You have the Bounty Hunters.
Yeah, you have the Bounty Hunter arc, which I love. You have Massacre in that arc, which is also solid. Solid.
And then you follow it up with more Maul and Savage action, which for you, I know that may be a minus, but for me,
skip.
it's only 2 episodes. It's brothers and revenge, but it is
yeah.
It is good. It is to be
No, season 4 is formidable. I'm not gonna lie. Season 4 is formidable. I forgot to answer my own last question, which is the unexplored idea. This is something I've been thinking about. I want to see a 6-episode mock HBO, like Disney making a TV show like HBO would, about the Dougs and the Zilla Beast and how they killed it the first time.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
That would be incredible. We need to get that.
How about this? How about an in-universe David Attenborough nature documentary?
I'd be down. I'd be down.
Like nature documentary about it or something, or in like an HBO or CNN style type documentary. I think that could be a lot of fun.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Okay, my second question for you. So the newest Star Wars project that's going to be coming out sometime, I guess, is Star Wars: The Bad Batch. It's a show about the Bad Batch post Order 66, realizing that the galaxy doesn't really have a role for them. So let me ask. It's a 2-part question. What do and don't you want to see in the Bad Batch?
What do I want to see? That is such an interesting question. I want to see what happens to the clones after Order 66. I want to see what happens to daily life for an average backwater, mid-rim, outer rim planet.
Yeah.
After Order 66. I just want to see overall how they're going to portray things. Is it going to be different? Is it going to be the same? What is the Coruscant underworld that we see so much of in the Clone Wars going to look like? Something I don't want to see, I don't want to fall into the same old trope of, oh, here's yet another Jedi who survived Order 66.
Please.
Like, we have to go kill them.
Please.
Because I think there are instances where that is a good thing. But every time they do that, it does inevitably, I think, it makes the original trilogy feel slightly less special.
It's like because Jedi Fallen Order, for crying out loud. We get it. One Jedi survived. That's fine. Wait, another Jedi surviving to mentor him? Wait, another one? Like, really? Are we doing this? We gotta do this?
And, like, it's not to say that I don't like any of these stories, but every time one happens, it feels like it just devalues the original trilogy a little bit.
It's a DJ Khaled-esque feeling.
Another one.
Another one.
It is a DJ Khaled. It's like a song with a song with too many features. It's like wait, so there's DJ Khaled and
then there's
Bruno Mars and Quavo
and then Travis Scott and
Travis. Now you got wait, what? Like all the Migos are here and everything, and it's just too much.
And
then you got DJ so and so, and
we just can't.
Okay. That's exactly what it feels like to me. Too many cooks.
Okay.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Here's what do and don't. Let's get some interesting stuff. Let's get some prequel stuff in the original trilogy era. I think Alden called it, I think this is a term Ken Knapsack invented, the boot of the Empire period. Let's see what's happening to Coruscant under the Empire. Let's see what's happening to Kessel under the Empire, turning into Kessel we see in Solo. Let's see what's happening to Naboo under the Empire. Let's do that. I want that. Here's what I don't want. I also don't want it falling into a trope that Star Wars has fallen into a little too much. Here's what I don't want. The Bad Batch, this is a scenario I don't want. It's episode 3 of the new season, right? The Bad Batch is in a really tough spot. They're dangling from a cliff, and then they're about to fall when somebody grabs their hand. We pan up from the camera, and we see it's Ahsoka Tano. No.
Yeah, no Ahsoka.
I don't want Ahsoka in this show. I don't want Vader. I don't want Obi-Wan. I don't want any familiar characters. See ya. Yeah. Bye. Especially Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka. She's one of my 5 favorite Star Wars characters. She's getting her own TV show for crying out loud. She might even be in more Mandalorian. She's already in 7 seasons of the Clone Wars and 2 seasons of Rebels and the Mandalorian now. We don't need more Ahsoka for crying out loud.
I think what I'm coming to realize, at least for me, when you say this, is that not everything has to be a cross promotion. Not everything has to be shown on screen. Some things, every time, like Ahsoka shows up again, but now she's once again tangled up in the Empire and the Republic.
We already got Ahsoka in the Empire period. It's a book written by E.K. Johnston, and it's
exactly.
Great. Let's leave it there.
Some things, honestly, are better left to the imagination. I think that that is something that I fear that Disney might be losing a little bit, is the power of mystery.
Here's some exceptions, though, I will make, okay? We already know that Fennec Shand is in the Bad Batch, and I love that idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be awesome.
If they bring Bossk into the Bad Batch, I will be completely fine with that. If they bring even somebody like Hondo into the Bad Batch, if they bring as Morgan into the Bad Batch, I will not mind any of that. It's main characters. I don't want to see Ahsoka. I don't want to see Obi-Wan. I don't want to see Vader. I don't want to see, Boba Fett. I don't want to see Boba Fett. I never want to see Boba Fett. I don't want to see we've already seen Tarkin's a slippery slope. I don't want to see Palpatine in person. If we cannot see Palpatine in person, I will die a happy man. You know what I mean? In the Bad Batch, we don't want that. We don't want that. At least I don't want that. That's just my opinion. It's Star Wars opinions. That's what it's here for. And again, I will say, a couple weeks before the release of Chapter 9 The Marshal, I mentioned that I never want to go back to Tatooine again. And then they made me love Tatooine and The Marshal again. Same thing with Boba Fett. I didn't want to see Boba Fett ever again, and then they made me love Boba Fett. So, take everything we say with a grain of salt. Yeah.
True.
Jacob, final question.
Final question. Another 2-parter, I'm sorry, but I realized that this actually has to be a 4-part question to cover all the bases.
It's fine, we're good.
What is your favorite season of The Mandalorian and your favorite season of Star Wars Resistance?
Okay. It's the same answer for both of them. Season 2. Season 1 of Resistance was phenomenal. It was great. But Season 2 is better because it really dives deep into the emotions and the morals of these characters that we've grown to, hopefully, if you watch the damn show, love. in the last season. Season 2 is a special season. It also takes place in a really interesting time period between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, which is a time period we need more of. It also has the Vox Vortex 5000, which is a splendid episode of Star Wars television, if I've ever seen one. It's going to become my new it's going to become my new Ochi of Best Student at this point. Anyway, Mandalorian, on the other hand, I was not a huge proponent of season 1 of The Mandalorian. I like the characters okay, but it didn't do enough new with the story to really grab me. Season 2, however, was beautiful. There were some really great episodes. The Marshal was fantastic. The Heiress was even better. The Jedi was pure joy. The tragedy was incredible, and the rescue was very emotionally satisfying for me. And I know I'm leaving out 3 episodes in that season, but one of them I thought was okay, and 2 of them I'll rather skip, which is much better than I can say for the last season. So season 2 in both cases. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, actually, for Resistance, I'm actually going to say season 1 because I just thought that season 2 was it just felt kind of rushed and cluttered. I don't know. Yeah, to me, it just felt rushed and cluttered, to be honest.
You do realize why that could be, right?
Because it got canceled, or because they announced that season 2 was going to be the last season. But it honestly felt like they could have spread out the story more, and I think that would have helped it. So yeah, I feel like season 1 just felt a little more coherent. It felt like the show, the way it felt like it was Resistance on Resistance's terms. And sure, there were a lot of aspects of it that I didn't love, but I found some things to like about it, and I felt it was just refreshing to me. So yeah, I just liked it for that. For The Mandalorian, this is a really tricky one. Overall, I would say season 2, because I think season 1 felt a little more together in terms of the way the episodes worked together, the coherence of the story. But season 2 just had some really great moments. Like with Ahsoka and Boba Fett. I think the Boba Fett episode really sealed the deal for me. Also, the return of Luke Skywalker, incredible moment.
Yeah,
really great. And that is something that I really enjoyed. But okay, yeah, no less Cara Dune. That was a plus. I'm not even gonna lie.
No, look.
But also, it was just
we're all gonna agree about this. It's just like, we haven't mentioned this when we probably should have. Gina Carano is no longer working at Lucasfilm, and that is a mutually beneficial decision for everyone.
Honestly.
I mean, except for her, but we don't really care.
All right. Yeah. Honestly,
okay,
I just want to say one more thing. I don't know how to describe this because I feel like they both these. I think The Mandalorian to me is a little bit overrated, and so there are aspects of both these seasons that I kind of wish I could change, or that I wish could change. But overall, I would pick season 2, which feels a little more scattered, over season 1, which feels a little bit more formulaic and a little bit more repetitive.
I definitely think season 1 is overrated. I don't think season 2. I think season 2 is maybe a little overrated because of the hype, but I think season 1 is genuinely overrated.
No, that's fair.
Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. Next week, we got a special episode coming out. The magic of this special episode is we still don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I think Jacob's going to come up with something. It'll be great.
It'll be great.
The day after that, we are going to be streaming. We are going to have our second In a Galaxy live stream with Pris from Fanatic Media, Andrew from Outer Rim Reads, Connor from the Nerd Academy podcast, and Alberto from Radio Rebellion. I'm so excited to have the four of them on the show. We're going to be doing a bracket and trying to convince each other that our episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels are indeed the best. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. So 2 recordings in 1. Until then, you can of course find us Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, I think now has podcasts. Anywhere you get your podcast will be there. YouTube, we are Star Wars in a Galaxy. Follow us on Twitter, at In a Galaxy Pod. Instagram at Star Wars in a Galaxy. You can follow my personal account at OchisFan327. Make sure to leave a rating and review. We really do appreciate it. And until next time, may the Force be with you always.